Hello, and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I'm Nathan Shields, and I've got many time guest, frequent flyer, and number one big fan of the podcast, Stephen Rapposelli, back on the podcast. Stephen, thanks for coming, man.
It's always a pleasure. I feel like I'm almost a friend of the family. I'll be over at Thanksgiving.
We'll put in some order for your favorite side dish, whatever that might be.
As long as it's Italian.
Oh, yeah, we don't have Italian stuff.
Oh, so your name doesn't end in a vowel.
No. From what, English, Scottish descent? But we digress.
Yes.
Stephen Rapposelli, if you haven't listened to him on the podcast before, go back and listen to his previous episodes because he's got a ton of insight. And it's been fun. In past episodes, Stephen has asked me the questions instead of me asking him the questions. But if you haven't met Stephen, he is the CEO of Performance PT in the great state of Delaware and actively involved with APTA boards, the Impact magazine in the past. He's also recently, though, and this is why I'm bringing him on the podcast today, he is the CEO of his new brand, StretchLabs, which he developed and designed in order to improve his cash-based offerings to his physical therapy patients and also the community at large. And he's doing amazingly well at it. I've been trying to get Stephen on here since PPS. I wanted you on at PPS, and you were like,
where we finally met each other in person.
Yes.
And I had to push people aside who were gathered around you.
Not true.
I could. Finally met you in person.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to share with the audience not only the story, but what you've learned about your development of this cash-based service and how well it's going and what you've learned, what you're doing and all that kind of stuff, because I want to introduce it to the audience that's listening. And you've been, I think it's been a success, even though it's less than a year. So I'll let you kind of take it from here. Tell us what instigated it, what happened, where it came from. And
right. So let me just start by letting your listeners and viewers know that I'm going to say some controversial things as it relates to physical therapist, but I can do that because I am a physical therapist. And as I like to say, it's it's sewn into my fabric. So I'm going to be a PT till I die. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. So that allows me to say some things that I think we need to be really aware of and to correct if the future is going to be bright. And I do think that the future is going to be bright for a lot of us, but maybe not all of us.
Sure. Effectively warned that this is their trigger warning.
Right. And the intent here is just to make people aware of their blind spots. We all have blind spots. And I'm usually on a weekly basis being introduced to mine or reminded me of mine and to open your mindset.
Okay.
I can't emphasize it enough that having an open mindset is one of the key predictors of future success. As we get older, we all have a tendency to close our mind off and be that grumpy old man shouting at the TV or woman. Now, the easy problem to say in today's world of physical therapy ownership is that obviously profit margins are being squeezed. There's pressure from both ends. And your recent guest, Demi, who I love and respect a lot, said it very, very, he said it very well in your podcast that, reimbursement is not going up and in many cases it's declining. Yet there is inflationary pressures that we all feel as owners, rising costs. And you look at the local Starbucks and you say, well, geez, that's easy because you could just raise the price of your coffee anytime you want. How come I can't do that? And I'm going to just say some quotes and hopefully, people are like, that I've said the same darn thing, right? Why can't I just raise my rates? So one of the offshoots of that is to start a business where you can raise your rates. And the genesis for me originally was going to the Graham sessions and listen to a guy, and I got to hunt this guy down and find his name because I reference him so much. He was talking to a group of PTs, and he said, I want everybody to open up your phone and type in the phrase StretchLab and hit the browse button, search button. And we did. And you could look around. People were there was a collective gasp and people's, mouths were dropping open and people were getting torqued over that. Can you believe this? They have these people called flexologists. They're not even PTs and they're doing what we do. And I'm only slightly exaggerating for the, effect. But thought to myself, well, this is bad news. And that was my gut reaction to it. I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. Why don't we do that? Like, can't we do that? And I think part of the problem is that we got to stop thinking like PTs. And you know what I mean.
Totally.
You know what I mean when I say that. We got to stop thinking like PTs. Right? It's the scenario where your patient says, oh, I love this gym ball. And you go, oh, well, go find it online. I'm sure they sell it at Amazon. Why can't I provide that good or service that my customer finds valuable? That's a key line there that I'm going to go through over and over again, that you have to obsessively say that in your own mind. What good or service is my customer going to find valuable? And why can't I provide it? And if I can't provide it, how can I provide it? Why shouldn't I provide it?
Oh my gosh, this is what makes me upset with the PT industry, is that if I hear or read any more articles about how we need to justify our effectiveness as PTs, and I know Mike Horsfield is on the same page because he said, we don't need any more white papers. We don't need any more studies about the effectiveness of PT. We don't need that. We need to provide value. And
that's right.
And objective value is important, yes, but I don't know about you, but I've had plenty of patients that have come in, and I used heat and stim, ice and stim at times, and they would say, man, if you guys just did this for me, that was all, I would think you're the best thing ever. And we're not willing to accept that.
Right.
Right.
Because somebody some time ago said, well, studies show that has no effect.
Right.
Okay, well, when my mother pulls her back muscles out and she comes to my office and says, honey, will you please put me on that heat and electric because it makes me feel better? I'm going to do that.
Right.
Right. And that's my mother, who I love. So why wouldn't I do that to anybody who asked me to do that?
And it was dumbfounding for me at the time, because I was like, well, you can't just come in for heat and stim, because then I'm not doing anything for you. And what I wasn't saying was like, I don't know how to get reimbursed for that. And I wasn't willing to put two brain cells together to figure out how I would. Like, people would probably pay, and well, I'll let you.
Well, for decades, Nathan,
yes,
literally decades, people would come to me late in the day and they'd say, for example, they were a teacher. Oh, if you would just put me in this private treatment room, turn off the light, put me on that heat and electric, I would pay you money just to do that and leave me alone for the 20 minutes. And we'd laugh and we'd hee and ha ha over it. And then, like I said, after about 15 years of hearing that, I said, why don't I do that? So I started doing it. And people started paying cash for it. Yeah. And I'm like, is this wrong? That my customer tells me what they want. I happen to have it. I put a fancy name on it. I call it a napatorium. Right? You come in, you take a nap for 20 minutes after work. Your husband or kids won't talk to you. There's nobody here. Right? We leave you alone. You feel good. You leave being relaxed. Is that worth an exchange of a value of money? Now, you can call me crazy. You can call me crazy all you want, as I increase my margins that way. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if I go out of business, I can't help anybody, can I?
No.
Right? So I got to do that. So let's talk about value, because you said the word value. And for those of you who are watching, and I'm going to share my screen, I'm going to show you a formula for value. And I'll talk everybody through it. And this is, of course, not mine, because there's not much that is truly mine. I steal from everybody. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So this is a formula made by a guy who I really admire, that I recommend all of your listeners Google search or YouTube or whatever it is that you do. And his name is Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi is the CEO of acquisition.com. Mm-hmm. And he has a book called $100 Million Offer. That is a fantastic book that I'm telling you, it's a cheesy title, but it changed my business life for the better. And in that book, among other things, he describes what value is. And he said that value is a fraction, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a numerator and there's a denominator. And the bigger you can make the numerator and the smaller you can make the denominator, the bigger the overall value is. So he says that in the numerator is a combination of a dream outcome multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement of that outcome, right? That's the numerator.
Mm-hmm.
Over time delay multiplied by effort and sacrifice. So let's break that out. If you have a really clearly spelled out dream outcome, that increases the numerator. If the perceived likelihood of achievement is great, that's an increased numerator. If you have an increased time delay, if it takes a long time, that increases the denominator. And if it takes a lot of effort and sacrifice, that increases the denominator. It decreases the value. So let's put that equation into a real life situation. And I will call, let's pick something random. Oh, physical therapy. Let's use that.
Oh, okay.
Right? So physical therapy, what's the dream outcome? And I'll just be the non-successful PT. What's the dream outcome? What did you come in for today? I don't know. My doctor sent me. You don't even know what the dream outcome is. So that's a problem, right? The perceived likelihood of achievement. That's me saying, my guarantee. What's your guarantee? The perceived likelihood of achievement, if you have a strong guarantee, that's high.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're coming in for me to treat your back pain. Well, sometimes people get better, sometimes they don't. It's back pain.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm exaggerating it, but that represents a low numerator. I can't identify the dream outcome. I don't have a high perceived likelihood of achievement. Oh, and by the way, it's going to take at least 12 to 14 visits or 8 to 11. It's going to take we'll see about 4 to 6 weeks, right? That's a significant time delay.
Mm-hmm.
And effort and sacrifice. Oh, you're going to have to do these exercises every single day or 3 times a day, and it's probably going to hurt, right? So unfortunately, and this is a slight exaggeration, you can see how physical therapy has some work to do to demonstrate the value.
Right.
And again, here I am being controversial. There's PTs that are probably wanting to jump through their iPhone right now and find out where I live and kill me. But it doesn't matter. It's not about what you think. I'm a physical therapist. I know exactly what the value is.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter. It's what the marketplace thinks.
Right.
In contrast, I can go on my phone right now. I can go to Facebook. I can find a good-looking person who looks good in a bikini or Speedos who tells me that they're going to fix my back pain right now. All I have to do is download their custom program. Pay now. You get the download. Do these exercises. It's effortless, and you're going to feel a lot better. Well, guess what? They just use that equation to demonstrate that they have high value, and they're getting the customer.
Right. Eliminate your back pain in 5 easy minutes a day.
That's right.
Right.
Now, I'm not advocating that that's what we have to say, but I do think that you have to set up a business model that addresses these. And if you don't, that's bad marketing, bad sales. It affects your operations. The whole business falls apart because you can't demonstrate the value of what it is that you're selling. And selling is not a bad word in physical therapy. Sorry to tell you, but everybody's selling out there.
They have to.
Everybody's selling something.
You're selling a plan of care.
Right.
You have to
That's
sell a
right.
plan of care.
And the marketplace does not care that you're a doctor of physical therapy or not.
No.
They just want their solution solved right now with as little effort as possible. And they want to be pretty certain that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's what value is.
Right.
Now, you can ignore it, and that's cool. You might not like it, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So you never stop seeing your business through the eyes of the only person that matters. That's your customer. Yeah. And we have a hard time unhooking our PT hat from our body, especially if we're also a business owner. Very hard. Yeah. Very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Now, where do we win? What can we take advantage of? Because this is a good thing. You can develop a business where you achieve these things and demonstrate high value, you win.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, the reality is that by providing PT, we gain trust of our customers,
Right.
which is gold,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because believe it or not, you come to see me for 8 or 10 or 12 times, you're going to trust me. You're going to like me. You're going to know me.
Right.
And at the end, if I say, Nathan, you really need this gym ball, we're going to put it in your back seat of your car today. I want you to get this ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's likely you're going to be like, you're right. Let's do it. What's wrong with that? I'm not selling you a whole life. I'm selling you something that I truly believe is PT you need.
Right.
And we should spend a lot of time saying, okay, now I'm not trying to sell transmissions. I'm not trying to sell, encyclopedias. What does a person who comes into my office, what would they probably like as well? So I call that the McDonald's effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into McDonald's and you buy a hamburger, it's likely that you're probably going to want French fries. And you're going to probably want a soda. Why don't I offer French fries and a soda to go with a hamburger that you've already ordered? So that's why I started that side business, StretchPlex, because people would say to me constantly, when I'm done with this knee replacement PT, I would come in here if you would just stretch me out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, since I'm so sharp business-wise, after about 15 years, I finally decided maybe that's something that I should look into.
Yeah.
And what would be the obstacles to offer that to people
Mm-hmm.
as an add-on?
Right.
And as it turned out, a whole lot of people would like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another reality is, again, PTs are their own worst enemy. When you talk about sales training and marketing training, people think you're unethical. I should never have to do that. After all, I'm a physical therapist.
Right.
I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and people should inherently, through providence, know, how valuable I am, and I shouldn't have to explain my value proposition to people.
Yeah.
Well, in this day and age, I'm sorry, that might have worked in the 80s, but it's not going to work now.
Right.
Right? Because there's all kinds of options.
You're up against social media influencers. And if you think the letters behind your name give you the authority, they don't care anymore. They want to go with the person who's got the brand and the pretty marketing and is on all the social media channels and makes it easy and effortless.
Right. Hey, I'm a board certified specialist in orthopedics. Do you know how much I had to explain that one to people? And their eyes still glazed over.
They don't care.
And they said, so are you going to make my back better?
Yeah.
Right. So you just kind of have to get off your high horse a little bit and say, I have got to deliver value to a customer in exchange for money. In this case, money.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So we started this business. Right. And it's been going pretty darn well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some lessons learned. And I'm not saying that everybody has to do this.
Be really clear. What are you offering now? Because for a traditional PT owner, maybe you offer gym access where you pay a flat rate per month and you can come and work out.
I did that for 21 years.
Yeah. And for me, no one took advantage of it. Right. So what are you offering in StretchPlex?
So what we offer is assisted stretching.
Okay.
We offer personal training, massage, compression garments with sport pump, and percussion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And those are the things that people said they wanted.
And
so
the ice and the stim and the heat as well, if they want it?
No stim, because here's my first lesson learned. I might as well get into it. We endlessly test. So we said, wouldn't this be cool within our 4 walls of our clinic? So we started doing it within the 4 walls of the clinic. And we started getting busy. And next thing you know, there was people starting fighting over space. The PTs and the people who are providing the wellness services are starting to fight over space.
Right.
So we said, okay, let's try a separate location. We built a separate studio just for wellness services. And we test that out and we see how that goes. And so there's a lot of pros and cons of each one, of doing each one. And I probably don't need to go into the subtleties, but we endlessly test everything that we assume. Here's an assumption that I made. Everybody who is a patient is going to naturally want this wellness service. They're just going to fall right into it. It's just going to be like walking over a very small bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we found out after a couple of months is that like 75% of our new wellness customers were coming in from Facebook ads.
Really?
Yeah, really. So we're like, well, that's weird. I didn't expect that, because we had run Facebook ads for the PT side.
Yeah.
And we were just never getting anybody. We're like, we're just throwing money out the door. Yeah. Facebook ads don't work for physical therapy, right? Well, guess what? It worked for the wellness stuff. People were coming in like left and right. I mean, dozens and dozens of leads a week on Facebook ads. Now, we couldn't have predicted that.
Wow.
But we looked at the data and be ready to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these lessons learned apply really to everything, all your businesses, not just a wellness business. It applies to your PT business. So do you do that? Do you endlessly test things and then alter your procedure or your process based on the data and what it tells you?
Okay.
Right? So
you did.
So many of those
Easton?
Assumptions have been disproved.
Yeah. So now, you did that with Easton. You got rid of Easton because of you were taking.
Well, no, I did it for Easton because in no way, shape, or form did I want anybody to have any thought that what I was doing was trying to do physical therapy without a prescription, without insurance, without a physical therapist, because we don't have physical therapists doing these wellness services.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we decided we're going to make this a separate tax entity, a separate location, a different name. It has nothing to do with physical therapy.
Right.
Right? Now, here's the other thing that we didn't realize. We do have these wellness services within our clinic, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we had people that were calling up and wanting to have these services. And when we said, okay, well, you go into performance physical therapy and we're with them. And, oh, no, I tried physical therapy before. That doesn't work. Well, that kind of hurt my feelings because I'm a physical therapist. I told you that.
Yeah.
So again, you have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and say, wait a minute, just because I think everybody should love and know physical therapy, that's not necessarily the reality. Mm-hmm. People just want the solution to their problem. And I don't think that that's bad to accommodate people's ideas and notions of what a label says or means. Mm-hmm. Some people's experience with physical therapy is pain and torture. Every time somebody says that, it hurts my heart a little bit. I hate when people say that. Pain and torture, right? You've heard it. Mm-hmm. I don't like that because it's really not. It shouldn't be. So I'm getting a little tangential. Get back to the point, though, and that is that so we're endlessly testing, and what we're finding is that we're actually getting referrals from other physical therapists in the area to this wellness business. And what's wrong with that?
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
It's like a physical therapy clinic, but you don't need a prescription. You're not going to see a physical therapist. You have some trained personnel that apply these things, and even massage therapists that provide some of these offerings. And you schedule on the hour, the half hour, like
anywhere from half hour to an hour and a half, because we also do massage and personal training. Now, in your neck of the woods, people may not like personal training. People may not like massage. If I had a ton of people who said, I want you to put me in cryotherapy, I want to be in a nitrogen tank up to my neck for 3 minutes, I would do that. Mm-hmm. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I'm challenging people to open their mindset of what it is that you can, should, or would offer a customer who is ready, willing, and able to pay you to do that. As long as it's not unethical or illegal, it's good business practice. Now, you might say, well, that's unethical. Okay, that's fine. But there's no physical therapist on site. Now, what does happen is that if one of our body coaches is stretching somebody and something just doesn't feel right or seem right, and they're trained to know, they go, you know what? That neck looks a little bit too stiff. I think you should go see the physical therapist over there performing physical therapy. Mm-hmm. And they scan a QR code that's on the wall, which pops up a form, and that body coach fills in the person's name, sends it to the front desk over the PT side, and that front desk person calls them and says, hey, Judy said that your neck is bothering you. You want to come in for a free discovery visit? Mm-hmm. So now I'm referring to the PT business. I don't have to worry about the doctor down the street who has his own PT shop and isn't going to refer to me anyway. Right. Now I become the driver of that business. Again, you may think that that's bad, but I don't.
Now, the patients that come in, it's almost like I envision they almost have a menu in front of them and they order off the menu. I want this, that, and that.
You can do that, or you can come in, and the way we've designed it, and what differentiates us from, let's say, a StretchLab, when you go into a StretchLab, you get the program. Okay. You get, right?
It's a program.
It's a program. We're going to do this first, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this.
I see.
At our place, they're trained, hey, Steve, what's bugging you? Hey, I'm 57 years old. My neck and back feel like, a steel drum. Okay, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes on your neck and your back. And that's all we're going to do. And we're going to stretch it out. I'm not going to worry stretching out your forearms because you said it didn't bother you and you don't want that anyway. So it's an obsessive focus on what your customer is asking you for. And that sounds pretty basic, but I'm telling you, it is not normal out there. It's not common. And if you just do that, if you just obsessively focus on delivering what your customer asks for, and that's what birthed this program, you're going to be successful and people will come back for more and they'll come forever. Going back to that value equation, they don't have to get a prescription. You don't have to check their benefits, right? I don't know if I told you the story. One of my friends texted me and said, hey, my 16-year-old has a tight groin running cross country and he's got to meet tomorrow. Can he come in for physical therapy? And the first thing I thought, again, I'm a physical therapist. And the first thing I thought was, oh man, I got to find out who the doctor is. I got to get a prescription. I got to find out what insurance they have. I got to check their benefits. I got to explain to them what their copay is going to be. And then I got to find a PT.
Stay late.
Yeah. Then I got to find out, I got to beg a PT to stay. And I went, you know what? Just call Matt over at StretchLabs. He'll get you in today. She's like, thanks. Texted me back, said, Matt got me in, stretched Michael out. Michael felt fantastic. Oh, by the way, I just bought a stretching package for my husband because he's tight, and my mother-in-law because I want her to love me. So that one text, I made $910 in cash.
Wow.
In one day. Now, I'm not saying every day is like that, but what I'm saying is I eliminated the time delay, the effort and sacrifice. The dream outcome was very easy to define, and the perceived likelihood was good because we say it.
Yeah.
Our guarantee is you're going to feel better after this first session or the next one's on us. That's a pretty good guarantee.
Right.
Why not? Why wouldn't I say that? So
that's really impressive. I love I can see where the friction is with some physical therapists who wouldn't like that. And that is that.
Don't do it then. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're going to train this Matt to be with a certain level of knowledge to say, this is outside of my realm. You need to go see physical therapy. And they're also going to have an
excellent question.
And they're also going to be able to ask some questions about, hey, you have a history of cancer. Maybe I'm not the right person right now to provide you blank,
Right. So our body coaches, and by the way, body coach is a name that I made up. So it means nothing, but that's okay. So is flexologist.
Yeah.
Right. So stretchologist. They're all made up names. So, I can either damn them for doing that, or I can have a little fun with it and make up my own name. And if somebody came up with body coach, my next name is going to be a body mechanic. How about that?
There you go.
I'll just keep making up names. Anyway, these people have a 4-year degree in some sort of movement science, whether it's exercise science or physiology or something. They get certified by National Academy of Sports Medicine. So they come in there with a NASM certification. So that's additional level of training. And then they have on-the-job training. So by the time that they put their hands on somebody, they know what red flags look like and who you should be careful with. And there's always somebody who's a phone call away.
Right.
Keep people safe. But in no way, shape, or form do we say that it's physical therapy, because it isn't.
No.
It isn't. But if that person thinks they need physical therapy, we know somebody who's really good.
Right.
Right. So here's the other lesson learned. 80% of success is marketing and sales training.
Mm.
Holy Lord. So people are just dropping the phone right now, right? Because what PT wants sales and marketing training?
No.
Zero, none, right? They don't have to do it, and that's okay. But every business, it's the fuel for every business, marketing and sales training. And what we have found, because we tested it, the more we devoted to multi-platform training of sales and marketing, the more successful we became.
What do you mean by multi-platform?
Meaning that you're going to read this book, then you're going to watch this video, then you're going to do this little lab, then you're going to do a group role play, then we're going to, so it's multiple platforms because we all learn differently.
Got it.
Right? Honestly, in your heart of heart, you know that your PT staff would probably benefit from sales and marketing training.
Oh, they have to. They have to have
right?
it. If they're going to be successful, yes.
Yes. So that's 80% of success in really any business. And that's really what separates the people who make it from, I think, the people who don't, because it's necessary. It's necessary. That's a takeaway. The next lesson learned, this applies to every business. You can't, and you shouldn't, do it all yourself. Right? So I get calls from PT owners who are like, hey, we're thinking of cash-based services. We heard about your program. We're going to do it ourselves. I'm like, go ahead. Go ahead. In fact, I'll even give you a checklist of what you should do. Here are the things that you should do in this order. Right? And what they quickly find is that they can't and they shouldn't do it all because they're already a busy PT owner. So if you're a PT owner and you're thinking about adding cash-based services and you're thinking that you're going to be the guy or gal running the show, you're going to fail because you don't have enough time to do all the things you want to do or need to do already. So your first job is to identify who is going to be accountable and responsible for this. And how do I elevate them? You either have to go find them or you have to bring them up through the ranks. And it all depends. It's very situational specific. We probably all know in our careers, there's that one person who was like a PTA or a front desk person or somebody who just like had it all. They were just like, they could do it all. They were jack of all trades and they could, you could plug them anywhere and they would do well.
Right.
That person would be perfect to be a manager of your cash-based program.
Totally.
But then you got to get them trained and you have to recognize that you have to develop them to do that. And then they answer to you, but you're not the one who's in there, making the Google profile.
Right.
And, doing the Facebook ad. You can do that for maybe a week or two, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lesson learned. Right? I'll do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And 99.9% of you won't.
Right.
You won't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find someone who, if this is what you want to do, and you have somebody who's proven that they've done it, then you pay the price and then you have them do it to you.
Right.
What you do is you say, okay, give me the playbook. You can tell me how to run the plays, but give me the playbook, right? So that I don't have to take 6 to 9 months of making mistakes. Because that's discouraging. And we don't have that. Oftentimes we don't have that time.
And that's why franchises are successful. And it all plays into the who, not how concept, right?
Excellent book, Nathan.
Yeah, don't focus on the how. Focus on who do I need to find to get me over this gap? How do I get from point A to point B faster? And paying extra money to do that is worth it.
And the linchpin statement is that you have the vision of what you want your future to be. Mm-hmm. Once you decide on that, and once you're aware of it, then you can move forward in a logical way. I'm here to say that open up your mind to what's possible. It can be done. It is being done. And it is a path for the future success of PTs, because I want all PTs to thrive, except the jerks. I don't want them to thrive, but all the other ones I do. And this is a way to do it. So why not?
Yeah. I get it.
That's it in a nutshell.
I love how taking something that would have, and it did, a bunch of physical therapy owners off the knees at the Graham sessions to hear about StretchLabs and threw them sideways to the point where they're just going to rail and rally against StretchLabs as a whole and maybe make a mean face as they drive by it. And then number one, you decided to change the mindset and go into, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I take advantage of this? opportunity.
That's right. And make an irresistible offer
Yeah.
so that I'm so differentiated that there's no price pressure. Right?
Why can't there be something between doing things on your own and using medications, full-blown physical therapy? I mean, some people don't need a full plan of care of 6, 8, 12 visits. Maybe they just need a couple of visits. And why go through the effort and sacrifice to do that? And then a physical therapist try to sell me on 12 visits when I only need 2 or 3. Why can't there be a middle ground there that we can take advantage of?
That's right. Find out what your customer wants, provide it to them abundantly, and then they're going to leave happy. So here's an example. We offer massage. So why doesn't a person just go down the street and get a massage from Hand and Stone Massage or whatever those
Massage
franchises are? Or Massage Envy. Well, they can compare price, which I don't want to be part of that competition.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can make my massages so much better that there's no comparison. So when somebody comes for a massage in StretchLabs, we start off with a little heat to your neck and your back.
There you go.
Yeah. Right there, that differentiates you.
Differentiator. Yep.
Then we put those sport pump sleeves on, squeeze their legs for 10 minutes, right? Get all that fluid out of there. Oh my gosh, that feels wonderful. Yep, that's what we say. Yes. We put a little lavender, little eucalyptus behind their little mastoids, right? So now they get a little aromatherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Now that costs literally nothing, but it's enough that you're stacking your service so that when you add it up, people are like, man, oh man, there's nothing like this. Right? I don't care what they charge me. It's worth every penny what they do to me. They're putting a little oil behind my ears. This opens up my pores and I feel good. I'm all relaxed. They're squeezing my legs, and that's all before the massage.
Yeah.
How do you do that with your other services? That's an open-ended question for everybody to start thinking about.
Yeah.
How can I differentiate what I'm doing now and make it incomparable to anybody else?
That they'd be willing to pay 2 to 3 times what they could if they did it on their own or find another massage therapist down the street.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Because when you go down to Cancun and you get that massage on the beach, you're paying $180 for that. That's insane. Right. But you're on the beach and, you got your wife with you and, you can hear the music playing and there's a Mai Tai waiting for you. All that stuff is they're stacking the offer so that you're going to pay a premium price. It's okay. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the remaining time we have together in some that we like to do together, which is let's turn the tables on Nathan.
Well, really quick, before we get into that, because I don't want to forget to do it.
Okay.
Bear with me.
You're so good.
Okay, man. So find out about StretchPlex. How to do that?
You can probably Google search it. If you want to search me on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, or, I don't have a common name. So it's Rapposelli, like wrap it up and sell it. So if you just Google search that, you'll probably get that or some of my Italian ancestors. And you can reach out to me. I'm pretty easy to find. They can email me.
Because you're teaching this whole thing, your whole concept to other PT owners across the country to do exactly what you're doing and see, because you talk about cash-based services and you're talking about maybe some laser therapy or massage therapy and maybe selling some stuff. Open. It doesn't move the needle for me personally. I don't make enough to really justify the effort. You're seeing is something on a completely different scale.
It's been profoundly shocking to me how people instantly understand it. And again, basic business principle, let's make it simple. If you can make your offer simple, if you make the concept simple, if it's easy to understand, it's probably a good thing. If it's very complicated and people are, furrowing their brow after you explain it to them for 4 minutes, it's probably not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It should be real basic. Hey, look, you get your pizza in 30 minutes. That's easy. We get your package delivered overnight.
Yeah.
Easy. It's easy to understand.
$5 footlong.
Yeah. So you look in the marketplace and you see the simple offers that are successful. And then you say, okay, now how can I do that?
Right. Okay. So definitely people need to reach out to you if they're looking for a cash-based service, of course, and
absolutely
to offset what's happening on the general decline in reimbursement.
Yeah. Again, I'm simply saying that I'm one guy who's proven that it can be done. I'm not saying you have to do it my way. I'm just saying that here's a way that I've done it. Think about how you'd like to do it.
Right.
If you're of that ilk.
Right. All right. So you love asking me questions.
I like to ask you questions that you're not prepared for.
Now we're turning the tables. I am no longer the interviewer, but
that's right.
Okay.
So I've got a couple questions for you, Nathan.
Let's go.
What has been the biggest cultural difference between you living in Arizona and you moving to Alaska?
The cultural difference.
That's right.
Wow. So in Alaska, these are hardened people. They're not really focused on impressing you at all. Whereas Phoenix Metroplex area is very much about what you're wearing and what you're driving. That's not the case in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
When you live in Alaska, there's a reason typically. Not a lot of people are from here, but people who move to Alaska are either trying to get away from something or going to something. They don't want to be messed with. There aren't a lot of fences around our homes. There's plenty of trees, right? But you don't see a lot of fences, but it's much more open in that regard. What was really striking when we first came to Anchorage to market for the diagnostics that we were doing, they knew immediately that we were from out of town. You know why?
Why?
Because we came in slacks and button down long sleeve shirts. They knew immediately we were from out of town. And
wow,
the room went cold. So we recognized that. And the next day it was essentially like a pair of jeans and a polo with tennis shoes on, because they're not worried about looks and fashion. Most of your front desk personnel are going to have colored hair, tattoos, and a body piercing. And that's normal.
So a professional tip that you would give somebody is have an emotional intelligence enough that you can read the room and respond, so to speak.
That carries through not just professionally, but in everyday living.
Yeah.
You know, go to church, and friends come up here and they go to church with us and they said, "Oh, I didn't bring anything to wear to go to church." And I'm like, what you're wearing is going to be better than 50% of the people there. Don't worry about it.
So switching gears, you're an aggregator of knowledge, meaning you gather from a number of sources, and a number of owners across the country, knowledge and experience. We're about halfway, we're a little, at the time of this recording, halfway past 2022.
Right.
What's happening out there, Nathan?
In the PT industry?
I'm being specifically vague. I want you to fill in that blank any way you want.
What's happening out there?
Right? You can talk about it at the micro level for PT practices and PT owners. You can talk about the macroeconomic scenario. Are you getting any wind direction vibe from people? Are people saying, hey, the recession's coming, my visits are down? Or is it, hey, we're going like gangbusters no matter what? Or what's going on with this economy? Or is it all across the board?
I'd say on a micro level, and when I say micro, I'm talking from the PT industry level, everyone's looking for a physical therapist, right? So the demand is there. And I shared this with a recent episode with Will. The demand for physical therapy is there, and it's only going to increase because of the number of people that are turning 65 every day for the next, 5 to 10 years still, is in the tens of thousands, right? So the demand is there, and the physical therapists thus are getting squeezed because they're not able to meet the demand. They don't have enough physical therapists there. That's what I see generally. I'm sure there are plenty of therapists out there who are like, well, I need more new patients. The people I'm talking to, that's not, new patients isn't really the issue. They don't have the therapist to meet the demand. Not that they're necessarily overwhelmed with patients, but the demand is there such that many patients aren't able to get in at the frequency that they need to on a weekly basis to come in and get really good care and see the results. That's why I've been promoting more people go out of network with the lesser payers. If you're looking for a physical therapist and patients are having a hard time getting on your schedule or having a hard time rescheduling, and they're only coming in 1 time a week when they should be coming in 3 times a week because you are so loaded, just start filtering out the low payers. I mean, maybe it's easier said than done, but yeah, get rid of the United Healthcare $65 reimbursement rate that's been like that for the last 2-3 decades and hasn't changed and met the demands of inflation. because you're getting squeezed. And unfortunately, we play the victim really well. We play that victim card super well to our detriment.
Nice.
So
well put.
Yeah.
Nathan,
so take a stand.
Nathan, you're a coach.
Yeah.
Do you have a coach?
Oh yeah. I've got a couple. And
what do you have a coach for?
So I've lost weight. I've got a coach for my weight loss. I got a coach for my coaching business who's directed me on my coaching stuff and led me to this point. And I'm still looking for more.
How many coaches have you said would you say you've had over your life?
Double digits.
Mm.
Yeah. Since we started getting some consulting and coaching between Will and I, probably started in 2000. Oh, I can't remember now. It's got to be 2011. So at least the past decade, I've had at least 10 coaches, and some of that has been a life coach. Some of that has been professional PT coach. Some of it has been business coach. Yeah.
Would you say that was a worthwhile investment?
Oh yeah. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching in the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to where I am. I'd do it again. Sure.
It's interesting that every successful person I know says the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, you'll pay more and more for that smaller and smaller slice that you need worked on.
Yeah.
Because the return on that investment is so great.
I just talked to somebody yesterday who is looking for a performance coach. And I didn't know what performance coach was quite clearly, because when I say performance coach to you, you're thinking someone who's going to make that athlete better, right? Now there are performance coaches who are kind of a variation of life coaches, I'm hearing, that will look at the 9 different aspects of your life between social, financial, spiritual, physical, relationships, you name it. Look at all these different aspects of your life and talk to you about where you are weakest and how you want to improve next to improve the performance of your life in general. More coaches coming out, differentiating.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's summertime in Alaska, Nathan, so we should probably end this now because there's only about 19 more hours of sunlight left where you are.
That's pretty much true. It doesn't get dark nowadays.
Woo, a lot more to do.
A lot of energy to do it. To round out my answer to your second question, like what direction are things going on a micro level? That's what I've been talking about in the physical therapy space. On a macro level in general, there just seems to be a poor lack of leadership across the board. People would love for a strong leader to come up who they can respect and trust and admire and look to. We don't have those figures anymore. It's kind of sad. You know, back in the day that there was a JFK, or generally Ronald Reagan was, appeared to be someone like that, or but you just don't have that anymore, man. And I think that's a missing piece.
Well, they say bad times create good people and good people create bad times.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah. Something
like that.
Yeah. Right. Don't quote me. Yeah, right. But hey, thanks for your time today, Stephen. It was great to catch up and hear more about what you're doing. I'm really glad you took the time to share with the audience what's been successful for you, because I think it's something completely different that people aren't really looking into, and they need to.
It's fun to share, and I always love admitting to my mistakes so that fewer people can make them. You'll make your own.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Peace.